Hi, you're with Ben Warrington. I play online as KidCardiff 6. I'm going to be reviewing the first of many in a large series. Today is going to be reviewing a $30 rebuy on PokerStars. It is a weekday rebuy, so the field isn't particularly large, probably around 250 players. 30 rebuy, obviously you start with 2,000 chips. You can rebuy then straight away to 4,000, and at the end of the rebuy period, which is an hour long, you can add on for a further 3,000 chips. So probably the average stack going into the second hour is going to be around 11 or 12,000 at most. I've started the tournament a little bit deeper in, probably about near the end of the second hour, because there wasn't really too much interesting to talk about. It was all fairly standard up until then. Before I do start the video, I want to talk about a few things. Poker really has changed. I've been a professional for almost 3 years now, and I would say the change from 2011 from the previous year has probably been the biggest out of all of them. I'm sure he says every year, but the tables now are really full of regs. There's so many less soft spots than that there was a few years ago. Most of the players have a good grasp of solid aggressive poker. Obviously there is still some soft spots and fish in the tournaments, but the majority of the players are opening to 2.5x or in position, free betting a similar sort of standard and a little bit more out of position. There's also, you see so much more 3-bet and 4-bet folding going on nowadays than did before. That it really can make decision making quite hard, and also make it quite hard to really crush your table, because there's so many more people playing back at you now. So I think a little bit of different strategy is necessary this year, obviously. Today I'm going to be talking about pre-flop ranges, or when to 3-bet, when to 4-bet, with what type of hands, and obviously the effective stacks with that. Obviously post-flop play as well. There is a lot more floating going on. You've got to be able to put your opponent on a range of hands and knowing his thoughts on your range. If this type of opponent is to 3-bet fold, he's probably more likely to be floating a capable player. I'm also going to be touching on small ball poker, when to use it and when not to. I think nowadays in poker, the small ball has kind of gone out the window a little bit. I think you need to be really valuing your top pair hands as highly as you can, whereas before I think maybe more effective way was to play small ball. I'll be touching that in my video, and okay, let's begin. I did fold 6-3, just in case you were wondering. The very next hand I had pocket king, so we're going to take a pause here for a second. We've got 23,000 chips. That's over 100 big blinds here. The table's quite a large range of stacks, ranging from M Silence, who's got about 18 big blinds, up until Kenzo, who's got me covered. So interesting dynamics here. There's not much to say on the reads at the table. Obviously this is a weekday rebuy, so something to note is that I'll probably have about 10 or 12 tables here. I won't always be making the correct decision, but I can at least review that after the hand and say perhaps what you could have done differently, or perhaps why I did what I did. Okay. So raising pocket kings now, 2.5x under the gun. I think it's good to keep it consistent. Probably make it nearer 3x at the beginning of tournaments when the implied odds are so much larger. Obviously, if you're min raising at 10-20, it's going to make it that much more difficult to inflate a pot than it is if you're perhaps raising 3x or even a little bit more. So the big blind calls here, which I think is going to do a wide range of hands. Obviously, we've both got over 100 big blinds. For me, that's a really great flop, 3-5-5. Most of the time here he checks to me, which he did, and I led for about half the pot. Perhaps a little bit deeper in the tournament when the stacks are a little bit more shallow, I might might bet a little bit less. But now that we're both over 100 big blinds, I think betting half the pot or a little bit more is in fact the best way to try and extract the most value out of your opponent. The type of hands he could be calling here out of big blind is really wide, as I said. I mean, it could involve fives, but obviously, you know, if he's got an ace-5 type hand, it's not very often he's going to be flopping trips there. I think he's going to be calling with a lot of pocket pairs, pre-flop, a lot of hands that play decently post-flop, suited connectors. So I led for half the pot. He calls. The turn's a 9 of clubs, which is brilliant because it doesn't complete the flush. If he's calling the flop here with that sort of hand, you've got to think the 9 doesn't change so much. What type of hands is he calling check calling the flop here with? Well, obviously there's a flush draw on, gut shots with ace-2, ace-4, perhaps even he's got 2 pairs there with ace-3 or pocket 4s or some sort of hand like that. As I said, 9 shouldn't change too much for him, so it's a great card for me to barrel because I really don't see him folding very often. So I bet around a bit more than half the pot just to inflate the pot a little bit, to be able to get a big bet then on the river. If he calls this pot, the pot will go to about 7.5k, and I'll be able to extract a little bit more value on the river, providing it's okay. So the river's a 6 of spades, and it's probably one of the worst rivers I want to see because he's check called 2 streets now. For not much of his stack, he very easily could have a flush draw. He also could perhaps have a hand like 2-4 suited or pocket 6s, which does now have me beat, unfortunately. So he's left for half the pot. The pot now is it's just under 10,000. I'm getting about 3 to 1 on a call, which means I've got to put 3,250 in to win just under 10,000. Now I think there is obviously a lot of flushes in his range here, but there's for 3 to 1 there. I think he can be block betting a lot of hands like pocket 7s, pocket 4s. I think if he is a good thinking player, he probably will be check raising his flushes and his full houses here. So if he had overbet the pot, it would have given me a little bit more difficult decision, and perhaps he's trying to really extract value from a good value hand, and I don't think he's got too many bluffs in his range. As it happens here, I think he could maybe have a naked 9 or a complete bluff, or even just be blocker betting, although I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a hand like 8-7 of spades and was just trying to get a bit of value on the river. Obviously we're going to make the call on the river, and he had jack 10 of clubs. It's a little bit interesting, he's check calling that flop. Perhaps it shows he's a capable player and he's thinking about making a move on later street, or perhaps it shows he's a bit of a fish. Time will tell. Right, moving on then to the next hand is ace jack of clubs. Kenzo's lost most of his, or half his stack now. It's a very good hand to open, and I've decided to min raise. I mean, I probably should keep it consistent at 2.5x as I did with the kings, otherwise you're going to become a little bit readable. At the same time, as I said, I did have around about 10 or 12 tables probably at the time, and obviously you're not going to be as efficient as when you're playing 3 or 4. Having said that, min raising is fine from here. Ace jack suited is a strong hand, and we've still got 100 big blinds, so it's very playable. Folds around to Havana in the big blind, and he 3-bets almost 3x. I actually have some history of Havana. I know he's a very capable player from Germany. I think obviously he's 3xing a lot of his value hands here. I also think perhaps he could be turning a few hands like Queen Jack suited and stuff that flops really well, perhaps taking the aggressor on it. So I don't see any value in 4-betting here because I think I'm only going to get 5-bet by better. I think folding is a little bit too weak. I'm getting decent odds, and we're still kind of almost 40 big blinds deep here. So I'm going to see a flopping position. Ace Jack suited flops pretty well, and I'm confident in my post flop skills. I can make some a good laydown when necessary and extract value when I need to. The flops come down 9 of hearts, Queen of clubs, 6 of clubs. I couldn't really ask for a much better flop, to be honest, because